Welcome to Fight News Now Extra. It's John Pollock here alongside John Ramdeen and Robin Black. We have a lot of stuff to discuss, including the TUF 18 finale that is coming up on Saturday night from Las Vegas, Nevada, which is Nate Diaz's high school reunion that he's going to be missing at Tokai High School as he takes on Gray Maynard, the third time these two have met.
Do we need to see this the third time, considering the lightweight division is one of the deepest divisions in all of mixed martial arts? Wouldn't we rather see Nathan Diaz versus, you name it?
I'm down with it. I am down with it because Gray Maynard has been a top guy for so long, and for the first time he's ever, he's had a couple of setbacks. And this is an issue of a guy that we all know. We've all seen how tough he is. We saw those fights with Edgar. We know he's at the top. Can he run through a kid who beat him on the show, who's also very talented? We know both these guys. It's a meaningful fight for both of them with Diaz on a 2-fight losing streak. I'm surprised they're not down with this one.
No, again, I love all fights. I just think that right now, at the end of things, Gray Maynard fighting Frankie Edgar the number of times that he fought him, now fighting Nathan Diaz. Why not spread it around? I'd rather see Gray Maynard face off against a number of guys instead of these two guys
Maynard
like 5 or 6 times.
disagrees because I just saw it in some interviews. He said he wants to fight TJ again, and he wants a 4th fight with Edgar.
He's got his pool of guys, and he says you pull out the scrapbook. It's like redoing grade 12 calculus that you failed the first time, and you're going to try it again at summer school this time.
Well,
he's taking on Nate Diaz here, who I think it will be interesting to see if we see some kind of deviation from prior performances here, because you look at this matchup on paper against a tough wrestler in Gray Maynard. This to me is Gray Maynard's fight to lose.
Yeah, that's what I agree. I mean, I think it comes down to, sure, everybody anticipates Gray Maynard will try to utilize his boxing skills, wait for his opportunity to put Nathan Diaz on his back, and that he has good enough submission defense to avoid any of the jiu-jitsu that Nathan Diaz has in his pocket.
Yeah, and there's a lot of questions. Is Diaz, what level is he training at? Is he with the old gang? Is his brother training at all? But
he's
Diaz,
retired.
He's
retired.
Yeah, well, his manager said he wasn't.
Well, word is that
Nathan
Diaz went to Team Alpha Male to work with those guys.
Right. So that's going to be interesting as well. See, now we're starting to dig this fight. He's been in a room full of tough wrestlers preparing for this fight. This is a good one. I bet this fight is going to really deliver.
Have you guys really followed much of Ultimate Fighter this past season? I mean, with the women infused, it brought some interest, but I mean, you look at the numbers on Fox Sports 1 and whether that's indicative of where Fox Sports 1 is, or just, hey, it's Ultimate Fighter and this is what it's going to draw in 2013, no matter who you have. Because with Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate, it was at least a fresh coat of paint this season.
Yeah, I tuned into sporadic episodes. I wanted to see what Miesha brought to the table. I wanted to see how nuts Ronda Rousey was. But when it comes to the talent and the fighters there, it's going to take them a long time to make an impact in their division in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And we just don't see the love from the UFC. These guys get in there after the TUF finale, they lose 1 or 2 fights, and their history. And it's very difficult for us to invest time in some of these athletes when right now they've got 400+ fighters that we have to focus on.
Yeah, there's that. And then reality TV itself, all the numbers are down. This isn't just an Ultimate Fighter thing. The reality TV across the board, it doesn't have that same level of interest. We've all kind of got used to it. All reality TV is getting a whole bunch of people who are not actors to act. And after a while, that kind of wears off. It's not reality. They're getting them to say and do certain things, and they're not really actors. So after a while, people, I think, are tired of the reality format.
It's interesting because the UFC, they've really followed the WWE's model with the Ultimate Fighter, where that's their entryway into these new countries is with television and using the Ultimate Fighter, which on paper makes a lot of sense. You want to introduce who are these people and get to know them, which we've talked about with Gloria having a bit of a problem with. And then from getting television there, then you can run your live event. And maybe that's where this Ultimate Fighter is the most viable. But I think domestically at this point, where the talent pool is so deep right now in the UFC that, spending 10, 11 weeks watching potential prospects, and I think that's all you can really label them as. I mean, you get certain seasons like this year with the women's 135 division where you will see some women move over, but by the rank and file seasons, you're going to see 1, maybe 2 catch on.
If that, and that's the thing. You're trying to build these guys, and you talk about other countries. They're watching these fighters as, okay, these are guys that I can get emotionally invested in, and then it's like 2 fights later, it's like, where are these guys? They don't exist. They're not in the UFC, and now they're fighting for legacy, or if they're fighting for the MFC or whatever it is, trying to make their way back to the big show. So I just don't see the point right now, and it's just not that interesting.
But I agree with you. Just because we don't like the format or it's not our cup of tea doesn't mean that from a business perspective it's not a really good idea. UFC Ultimate Fighter China is going to do really well for them. They're doing Ultimate Fighter Canada versus Australia. That's going to pique peak interest, and it's being picked up in all these different countries. So when they go into a new place, I think it'll work really great in a new territory, and I think it's still a really good tool for the UFC.
Robin, you wanted to discuss the knockout. I don't even want to call it a game that's going on, because there is a mixed martial arts, a tie-in to it. Maybe you can recap what it is. It's a bunch of disgusting people, essentially.
Yeah, it was cool to see Kenny Florian, Eddie Alvarez, and a couple of guys come out, because this is one of these stupid things that people are seeing on the internet, and it's catching on. And I don't know, man. It's like the world just got dumber. Like, there are groups of kids walking around thinking it's really funny to walk up behind somebody and try to knock them out, and it's on the internet and people are watching it, and it's like, this is one of the, it's assault. It's making people afraid of groups of youth. It's culturally terrible, and these are cowards, like terrified little cowards. You want to learn to fight? Go train and fight somebody who's prepared for you. But this is one of the stupidest, worst examples of humanity you've ever seen. And you're going to see more and more fighters talking about the fact, don't pretend you're a UFC fighter by knocking out some guy in a business suit. Like, that is some of the most repugnant behavior that society could produce.
I like that you said that these guys should go and train, because there's a recent article on Carlos Fodor who said he did the same thing. He came back he was in Iraq, he fought there, he came back, he had a bunch of emotional issues, so him and his buddies would go to bars and they'd beat people up. So they decided, oh, you know what, let's take this to the next level. Let's find a gym to try to beat somebody up. Well, they weren't beating up Josh Barnett, and they weren't beating up Ivan Salaverry. These guys absolutely schooled them, and it gave Fodor a different mentality and a purpose in life, and it changed his perspective. So maybe some of these guys will hear what the media and what some fighters are saying, and maybe their life will be changed.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it is really grotesque. And it's good to see fighters denouncing that kind of idiocy.
I think so, because if this continues and there's more coverage of this, I think the UFC is going to be brought into a lot of these stories, and I think they should make it really clear here that they absolutely turn their nose at this kind of stuff, and this is not what they're trying to promote. But nonetheless, we have more of Fight News Now Extra coming up momentarily.